Hey, have you ever really stopped to think about the phone in your hand? Or maybe the coffee you drank this morning? Turns out, the stories behind these super common, everyday things are just packed with global power struggles, economic battles, and all these complex agreements. So, in the next few minutes, we're going to unravel why understanding these forces, what we call international relations, is absolutely essential for navigating the world we live in today.
All right, let's just dive right in. First up, your phone, the world. Now that sounds simple, I know, but we're about to see how that little device you carry around everywhere is actually a fascinating window into, well, the entire global system. Because when you really look at it, this is so much more than just a piece of tech. I mean, think about it. It's a geopolitical object. You've got minerals mined in one country, components built in another, and software designed somewhere else entirely. It's a living, breathing global supply chain. It represents international trade agreements, and it's a tiny piece of the entire global economic system, all working together just to get that phone into your pocket.
And here's the real kicker. From the price of gas to the news you see on your feed, almost every single part of your life is shaped by these huge international forces. And that's why understanding international relations isn't just for diplomats or generals anymore. It's for all of us.
This all leads to a really important idea, this concept that we're all living in a global village. So what does that actually mean for you and me, day to day? Well, it means our world is so ridiculously interconnected now, thanks to technology and economics, that a financial crash halfway across the world can instantly tank markets right here. A political decision thousands of miles away, yeah, that can affect the cost of your groceries next week. There are no more isolated events. Everything is connected. And this crazy interconnectedness is exactly why IR is so vital. It's the only way we can even begin to grasp the massive challenges that no single country, no matter how powerful, can solve on its own. We're talking about things like global climate change, pandemics that just laugh at borders, the terrifying threat of nuclear weapons, and the worldwide search for basic human rights and justice. These are all our problems, and they demand a shared understanding.
So, okay, the world is complex, it's interconnected, and frankly, it can be a little overwhelming. So how do we even begin to get a handle on it all? Well, it turns out the most important tool we have is also the one that people find the most confusing. Theory. But I promise there's a really simple way to think about it.
We're just bombarded with this constant flood of information, right? Of crises, of connections. How can we possibly find a clear path through all of that noise?
The answer is actually pretty elegant. Just think of a theory as a map. You see, a map doesn't show you every single tree or car or building. That would be totally useless, just a giant mess. No, a map simplifies reality. It shows you only what you need for a specific purpose, like getting from point A to point B.
Take a subway map, for example. This one for the Singapore MRT is a perfect illustration. It's beautiful in its simplicity. It only shows you the stations and the lines. It intentionally leaves out every tree and building and shop so you can clearly see your route. Well, IR theories do the exact same thing for global politics. They highlight certain things and ignore others, all to help us navigate a super complicated issue.
And this is where it gets really cool, because different maps show you completely different worlds. If you pull out a realist map, it's going to highlight states, military power, and borders. It's designed to help you understand a world of conflict and power struggles. But then you can switch to a liberal map, and suddenly you see a totally different picture. This one focuses on trade routes, on international organizations. It's built to navigate a world of cooperation and connection.
So, once you have these maps, how do you learn to read them like an expert? Well, you start by asking the right questions. Let's move on to the practical toolkit you can use to analyze pretty much any global issue. To start thinking critically about the world, you just need this toolkit of 5 questions. First up, who are the actors? Are we only talking about governments, or should we be looking at giant corporations or individuals? Second, what's the nature of the system itself? Is it just total anarchy, every country for itself, or is it more like a society with shared rules? Now, the next few questions, they challenge us to dig even deeper.
Number 3 is a real game changer. It's a famous question from the scholar Robert Cox. Who is this theory for, and for what purpose? This is so powerful because it forces you to look for the hidden bias in everything. Is a theory helping keep the powerful in power, or is it trying to challenge that and help the powerless? Remember, every map is drawn by someone for some reason.
And that flows perfectly into question 4, powerfully asked by Cynthia Enlow, where are the women? I mean, just look at this image of world leaders. For so long, IR has been gender blind, completely ignoring how global politics is literally built on the often invisible labor of women. And that brings us to our fifth and final question. Is something a brute fact or a social fact? Okay, so a brute fact, like gravity, just exists. It doesn't care if we believe in it. But a social fact is something we as humans created, like money or borders. Asking this lets us question whether something like global anarchy is an unchangeable law of nature, or maybe, just maybe, it's a reality we built and could therefore change.
You know, once you start actually using these maps and asking these kinds of questions, something pretty amazing starts to happen. You begin to see the hidden architecture of our world. You start seeing the whole thing anew. Which, of course, leads to the ultimate question, doesn't it? After all this, with all these different perspectives, realism, liberalism, all the others, which one is the correct map to use?
But the truth is, and this is maybe the most important takeaway, there is no single right map. The world is just way too complex for that. The real point isn't to pick one favorite theory and defend it to the death. The real goal is to have a whole atlas at your disposal, so you can pull out the right map for whatever journey you're on.
Understanding international relations. That's what gives you the atlas. It gives you the tools to look past the daily headlines and see the deeper forces shaping our world. So, the only question left is this. Now that you know how to read the maps, what are you going to see differently when you look at the world tomorrow?